Hi everyone. Actually tonight I'm actually making a quick video and so that before I turn in. So okay. I have been talking about this with other people and also I've been actually doing some reading up and also I'm watching videos and also in relation to my own personal experience and what I've heard from other people. And today I'll be talking about this narcissist and STD. As you all can tell, um, my video's title is Narcissists are walking dirtbags of STDs, pathogens, and sexually transmitted demons. Yeah, that's what STD means. It doesn't just mean sexually transmitted diseases, but it also refers to sexually transmitted demons. Okay, what do I mean by that? Okay, but I'll explain that in a while later. But before that, just let me go through um, the things about narcissistic abuse and what kind of risks that we have when we actually have a somatic narcissist in our midst. I believe that most people who have been in a relationship with a narcissist will be aware that they're never really fully safe. SAFE, as in they are constant risk of catching an infection from their narcissistic other half or maybe their date or partner, and um, there are certain things that I think we need to be more aware of right now, uh, because I think in this current day and our culture in this century, um, we know that actually the possibility of catching any viruses or any disease is actually quite high because of rampant promiscuity and also the rampant hookup culture that has been around. So, okay, just let me talk a little bit more about this, why this particular topic of narcissist and STD is really uh, important thing that I think we need to just pay attention to. Okay, I think that most people will get very triggered, but if we remember that we are dealing with narcissists, especially those of the somatic variety, um, the somatic variety being the kind that actually takes care of his or her body or looks. There's always a possibility of them having very risky sexual behavior and also certain sexually transmitted diseases. And Of course, I mean, because of their pathology, they are very unlikely to admit that they could be infected with anything. So let's just say that if they are in a relationship with you, or you are in a relationship with them, uh, depending how you look at that. Um, the fact is that they could be, spreading pathogens to others, and at the same time they are in denial of any need to have a medical examination to clear all these possibilities of infection. So I know that this is very contradictory because on the one hand you have them claiming that they are kind of like, oh, I'm free of all these diseases, and I'm impervious, I'm like so immune. It's almost as if they have like a superpower, or like maybe goodness, maybe as if they are like the Virgin Mary. They are like, perpetually virginal and never getting uh penetrated or penetrating or whatever. There's a I mean, the fact is that we know that it's very contradictory because in reality, most narcissists actually have a very colorful and checkered sexual history, and I think it's a very it's at the very least okay that we can say that they um, this denial that they have can be summarized in a statement: I don't have any diseases. Why should I get tested? Okay, um, you all know that right now in this kind of pandemic of COVID, um, there are people who just refuse to get tested for COVID, even if they actually start showing symptoms of COVID, such as like breathlessness, running high fever, and yeah, all this and all that cough-like symptoms. Um, yeah, some of them, like just for example, like, I think my father was very stubborn, and thankfully he hasn't actually had that. He hasn't been infected with COVID yet, unlike others in my family who have been infected and recovered. He had this thing about, oh, I'm not sick, or I'm not infected with COVID. Why should I get tested for COVID? It's a very counterintuitive thing, but if you were to just compare that to, like, narcissists when they get infected with some disease, including an STD. This is pretty much similar. They place the cart before the horse, and this kind of lack of medical logic or reason is not surprising with them. Okay, and before I move on, actually, I just want to talk a little bit more about this possibilities of how we're going to actually identify the narcissist in their very risky sexual behavior. I think that's very important because I think right now there's a current culture of hookups. I think it's made possible especially because of our social media apps. I mean, it's not just Tinder. There are so many other apps, and like some of these are not just for so-called. It's not just booty call central. It's an attempt to just get laid, and I think that regardless of whether you're straight, gay, bisexual, or whatever, or just looking around, um, it's just not healthy. And I think that I have one or two friends who just, like, disregard everything and just they throw all they throw caution to the winds. Like, for example, I have one friend from my time back in the gym when I was working as a trainer. He This friend is actually gay, so I don't understand the mentality of some gay men because I mean, I'm no offense to anyone, but he was going around. He wasn't going around telling anyone, but he was telling me that there's nothing wrong with going for one night stands, and if he actually go, fulfills you. I don't think he fulfills you, but I mean, he's not promiscuous, but just the idea that it's okay to do that is not very safe. And then when that there's this one episode in Sex and the City many years ago about this character, where the character of Samantha Jones was dating, and not just dating but even having sex, as in oral sex, with a man whom she claims had funky spunk. There was one particular cafe scene where her friends, like including Charlotte, the prudish woman, and then walked out, and then her friend Carrie just told her at the end of that conversation, as long as you at the Center for Disease Control are fine with that. um, I mean, of course, that friend was like, oh, it tastes like the cheese, and oh, it's okay. I mean, as long as the guy is clean. But how do you even know if the guy is clean or not? I mean, you haven't gone to the doctor together, and you haven't even had a medical examination after or before sex, and rampant disregard of all this testing and everything shows a kind of a it is really dangerous, and I don't think that we should be taking anyone's word for it about their own sexual history, because I mean, regardless of whether they are like male or female, or gay, straight, or bi or lesbian or whatever, or even trans, I mean, whatever their gender and sex, if we don't really know them in well enough, and why do we get into this kind of situations with them, especially if they are narcissistic? And okay, so it's really quite disturbing, but I think that we need to watch out for these signs that not just of toxic behavior, but even of toxic narcissism. So I have about a few points, 5 points that I think, and also how to identify them, and then also points on how to actually start start making plans to get away from that. Yeah. So some of these red flags or warning signs should be taken note of right in the middle of that so-called relationship. um, okay, one of it is actually refusing to get testing, as I've told you all, um, using all the excuses and reasons to actually avoid testing. Okay. The second one is actually engaging in high risk sexual behavior, even despite knowing of the possibility or the risk of infection. Okay, this is something you should take note of. The third point would be blaming the infection on you being the one they spreaded the disease to, instead of admitting their fault when they are diagnosed with a STD. Okay, and then the fourth one, consciously going ahead to engage in sex even after being infected with an STD, often in hopes of infecting someone else with that. Uh, it's really, really irresponsible and evil, but from what I've heard from one friend myself, um, I mean, this friend of mine is a high school friend. He's a good person actually, but he told me that I mean, him being openly gay man, he was telling us that in the gay community that he actually was relatively active in for a while before he got attached and then has now been a partner. He said that there are two particularly disturbing things that some very promiscuous gay men do. One was actually to go ahead to spread diseases to someone, spread the HIV virus to another person, or to try to engage in sex with them that's unprotected, despite knowing that they are positive, they are HIV positive. And then the other flip side would be those who are not HIV positive, who are actually negative, choosing to go ahead with high risk sexual activities, and like anal sex or whatever, and then not using any like protection or condoms or whatever, to try testing the waters to see if they will get HIV and or AIDS. This is really yeah, very dangerous. But of course, I'm not saying that it's only just gay men who actually engage in this, but there are some heterosexual men and women who go ahead to do this kind of things too. So yeah, it's very dangerous. So yeah, going ahead to engage in sex even after having been infected with an STD, uh, often in hopes of infecting someone else. Okay, this is the fourth point. The red flag. The fifth one is actually refusing any kind of contraception or protection, even if they are aware of a possibility that they are going to catch something from someone else. Okay, the sixth one is like something I think is very common. Engaging in smear campaigns against others by claiming that these others are promiscuous and have STDs, uh, although in reality they are the ones actually carrying the disease. Okay, and why do they do that? They're doing that to actually distract or divert the attention away from themselves and from their own problems. Uh, yeah, so I think that this is something that we need to really just be aware of. Okay, and as for the ways to actually take precautions, I think that the problem is that most of us, once we enter narcissistic relationship, we don't exactly we aren't aware, and we choose not to take heed of the warning signs. I think it's very dangerous. So I think a few things that we can do. One of them would be to get a thorough um, body checkup, including blood work. Yeah, test your blood for STDs. Get that blood work done. Okay. The second thing is to insist on boundaries in terms of sexual and physical intimacy. So don't just say yes to anything, sexual or physical, to that other partner or date just because you think they are unhappy with you, or that they might actually forsake you and discard you just because you refuse, because the ones who actually do so based on your refusal do not deserve to be in your life. And of course, I think we need to document evidence of their sexual behavior outside the boundaries of the relationship. So let's say if um, you know and or are aware that they have been cheating or sleeping around with someone. It could be a prostitute, it could be a friend, it could be whoever. um, Document that. Okay. And of course, don't confront them even if you know them, don't know that they're doing something wrong, because they are not going to admit it anyway. They're going to deny it. You should be distancing yourself from them as much as you can. Okay, so these are the things that I would just say. And on a final note, I think that about STDs and narcissists and STDs, I think that even if they are not, and even if you're not infected from by them with some disease, I think you should be prepared for some kind of emotional Russian roulette that they put you on. Why do I say that? Because I mean, let's use the metaphor of like spreading jam or peanut butter on toast. Um, Once you spread it on the toast, you cannot really clean it up. I don't think you can wash the bread away. That's the same thing with having sex with a narcissist. Any kind of like sexual contact, no matter how so-called clean or negative it is in the results, after that, they'll leave some kind of energy or some trace on you. I can't explain that, but I mean, because personally, when I was with my former narcissist years ago, I mean, I remember that we didn't even have any kind of like emotion. I mean, we didn't have really high risk activities back when I was dating. But I found out that particular ex was just like around, yeah, around so many other men. And I was like, damn it, I'm not like I'm not opening myself up to this kind of things. And of course, as I said, it need not just involve men who are promiscuous. Women can be promiscuous too. And so it really got me so nervous and so um, anxious that I went to see a doctor. Like, but I didn't do that immediately. I did it like maybe 1 or 2 years after the relationship just broke. And at the point when I was at the doctor was just telling me, oh, why are you so anxious? Didn't engage in anything. Of course, to allay my fears, the doctor just took my blood, had a blood test, and everything was cleared. So yeah, I was like negative. There's nothing like that I will have to worry about. But he just told me, oh, just take it easy. And I mean, of course, I mean, right now I look at yeah, taking it easy seems easy, but back then I was like, I was just crazily um, anxious. And I know that I was talking so fast back then, and I told doctors all about what happened. And I think that it's important that we learn to be aware. Yeah, I mean, it can cause you really, really to spiral into some kind of spiritual depression, because I mean, uh, yeah, that I mean, is there are only two possibilities. One, the narcissist whether he or she, whatever, will always leave you wanting more sex because of that. There's a little bit of that release of oxytocin, that hormone that makes you feel very happy or at least relaxed after sex. So you keep on looking back to it, but at the same time, you know that it's not a real connection because there's something very off or empty. Um, I couldn't really place it because I mean we didn't even have much moments or any many moments of intimacy, so and it wasn't even really full even sexual, I mean at most points, but yeah, I mean they can cause you to spiral into all that um, emotional spiritual depression, which takes a lot of effort to actually release, and after years of therapy and counseling and personal inner work. Okay, I hope this actually helps, and I'll be making some more videos about this later on, and so I hope everyone has a good day, and yeah, so that's it for now. Okay, bye bye.